In this video I'm going to show you how I animated this watercolor painting in Procreate using Animation Assist. Welcome to Stayf-Mary. I'm Stayf van de Groot, the Dutch artist, but you can call me Stayf. I made another video about making this painting protecting Ossian's hole in Procreate using my custom watercolor brushes. I'll leave a link below this video. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. Subscribe if you haven't already, and don't forget to hit that notification bell, because each time I upload a new video, you'll get a notification. When I created this painting in black and white, I knew that I also wanted to make this painting for animation. So I made this painting in several layers. This painting shows a knight on a bridge who is fighting a dragon. The dragon has burned down all the trees. In the foreground there is a waterfall. Initially I made this painting for print in color. The print is available on my RedBubble. For print you need the highest possible resolution. I made this painting on A2 size at 300 dpi. That's 594 mm by 420 mm. But when you paint in Procreate in the largest size possible, you only have a limited amount of layers you can work on. In this painting I wanted to animate the fire and the fire sparks and the waterfall. The first thing I needed to do was bring down the resolution of the painting. The video size is 1920 pixels by 1080 pixels. But I also wanted to zoom in on the knight on the bridge. I exported the original painting as a PSD and opened it in Photoshop on my computer. I decreased the size to 4000 pixels by 2828 pixels. Then I prepared the image for animation. A white background layer. The background of the layer with water of the river and some trees and rocks in the background. A middle background with some silhouettes of trees. A layer with the dragon and the knight. A placeholder for the fire. A layer with Ossian's hole, the bridge and the rocks in the middle ground. The rocks in the waterfall. And the foreground layer. In Procreate you can also animate. Go to Actions, then choose Canvas and activate Animation Assist. Then a timeline pops up and you can start animating. When you set up your animation you can have a background layer and a foreground layer that will stay in place. When you tap on the first frame on the timeline, you will see a pop-up window with Background. Select it to make your background stay in place. For the background I painted the basic shape of the water in pure white, because I need to block the background of the rocks. For the animation I used the same brush, the Stayf Water Brown, to do the animation. I just wanted to keep everything in a watercolor style. You can buy the Stayf Procreate watercolor set on my Gumroad. I'll leave a link below this video. When you animate water, it's always good to look at reference videos. How does it flow? Fortunately, I had the video of the waterfall, so I studied how the waterfall flowed. In Procreate you can also set the frames per second. I wanted to animate this at 8 frames per second. You can adjust the frame rate when you tap on Settings in the timeline. Adjust the slider to 8 seconds and then you're good to go. I also selected Loop to let the animation loop when you play back the animation. On the first frame I painted the stream of water that flows around the rocks. The rocks will change the stream of the water. The river is wild because the water is falling down. I wanted to lift the water up in the middle and then let it come down again. You can also use onion skin to see the frame before and after. Press on Settings and select at Onion Skin Frames how many frames you want to see. Most of the time I set it to 2, so I can see the frame before and after to paint in the in-between. When you select color secondary frames, the frame before will be shown in red and the frame after in green. This gives you a good indication where you can paint the in-between. I also used the Liquify filter to move some of the animation. Go to Adjustments and choose Liquify. I used Push and duplicated a layer and pushed it in Liquify. Then I painted over it again. After I painted the water animation with the watercolor brush, I used another custom brush from the Stayf-Mary Blair brush set called Stayf-Blair Splatter. I used that brush to paint in the splashing water. The brush set is also available on my Gumroad. I'll leave a link in the description. I also checked the animation with turning on the background layer. When I finished the animation, I merged the layers to 11 frames. With a water white layer and 11 frames of animation. I exported the animation as a PSD file to open it later in Photoshop on my Mac. The fire I animated in a separate canvas. I looked at reference photos of forest fires. In this scene the dragon has already set the forest on fire. So the fire is smoldering around the base of the trees and on the ground. I used a more opaque brush to animate fire. First painting with yellow. I also wanted to animate the fire that burns up the branches of a tree. Fire is very erratic. It blows in different directions. The base of the fire is thicker and on top the fire flames scatter around. When I finished painting in yellow, I added touches of orange and red to each frame, going back and forth on each frame to get the right flow of the animation. I also animated the fire on 8 frames per second. I also wanted to animate the sparks that fly off the fire. In order to make the sparks flow naturally, I drew some guided lines in green and set that to the background layer. I didn't want to animate on the layers of the fire, so I created groups for all the layers. In Procreate, group is seen as a frame. So I created an extra layer in each group to animate the sparks. In the original painting I did not refine the dragon. So I painted it again using the original layer of the dragon. In my other video I explain how you can color a black and white image. I used that same technique to color the dragon. After that I used my Stayf watercolor brown brush to paint on top of the dragon to paint in the reflections of the fire. All of these separate files I exported as a PSD file to open in Photoshop and prepare the animation for Moho to create the parallax effect. In the next video I'll show how I imported all of these files into Moho to make this animation. I hope you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends and subscribe if you haven't already, and don't forget to hit that notification bell, because each time I upload a new video, you will get a notification. Drawing is fun and practice makes perfect. See you next time. Doodles!